Hi, hello. Today we are going to take a look at our next topic, which is going to be dialogues and navigation. So far, all the demos that I've done have all just been on one screen. We've been looking at the same time. We've changed what's on the screen, but we haven't actually loaded new screens to work with and pass information back and forth between them. So that's what we're going to do a bit of today. This is, once again, your good old basic project, so I'm just going to start off by deleting everything I don't need, which is going to be a lot of it. I think I'm going to get rid of the counter, but I'm not going to get rid of the floating action button. I actually want to use that, and I think that'll be the button that we use to pull up a new page, because why not? We already got the button for it. We'll probably delete a few other things along the way. Let's get rid of this child and the column here. Yes, please. And we're going to actually have this call a different function, which is going to be called show event scheduler. We're going to make a little event scheduling app here. Do I need the parentheses here? I always forget. The answer is no, I do not want the parentheses there. But I do need a function called show event scheduler. And now, because loading pages can sometimes take a while to get working, this is actually going to be one of the first asynchronous functions that I write. So because it might be the case I press my button, I have to wait a little bit for things to happen, I'm going to make this into a future function. Actually, what we could do is maybe let's see what happens if I don't. I know that I have to, but suppose I don't make this an asynchronous function. What weird things will my app do? Let's find out. So let's take show event scheduler. It's going to be our function. Normally it should be future and asynchronous, but it's not. And we're going to do, this is a constant, I imagine, of course. We're going to do var event equals navigator. So navigator is a class you're going to see quite a lot of anytime that you need to switch between things. And navigator has a couple of methods. You can think of it sort of as building a call stack, except the call stack is the pages of your app. And here we're going to push onto our little quote-unquote call stack the context in which we're in. We need to have that pretty much all the time, as well as the name of the page that we want to load. And we're going to load a page called schedule event. So we have that. Why are you angry? Undefined. I'm not quite sure why it is undefined. Maybe we'll see in a little bit why that is. It could be because of the lack of asynchronicity. Let's see if I do make this a future async. Or actually, no, it's because this is the context belongs to the widget. I need to actually have this inside the my homepage state, so there is a context there. There we go. It's always good to make sure you know where your functions are. So the context here is a property of my homepage state, and that's something that's going to vary over the course of my app. Now, why are you mad? Invalid constant value. Okay, let's make this not a constant. Alright, now everything seems to be fine. Yeah, I guess it was confused about me putting in constant there, because turns out actually there is something that depends on the context, which is our little event scheduler thing. Now, passing a path to schedule event doesn't really mean much because our app doesn't know what the heck that is. So we need to actually add something to the root of our application. And here there is a property of material app we haven't used yet called roots. So first off, let's rename this, make it a little nicer. This is our dialogues and navigation demo. So we'll just call it the same thing, dialogues and navigation page. But we're also going to have some routes, and our routes are going to be a map, and it's going to map strings, like the string schedule event, to actually creating a different app that we can switch to. So if I get let's see, so this is looking for a map, and so the map is going to contain schedule event, and if it gets schedule event, it's going to map that to basically a function to build a widget, and it needs the context, and it's going to build a schedule event page. We're going to make a new class for that one, and the title of the page is going to be schedule event. This is all giving me like errors all up the wazoo, but that's to be expected since I haven't made my schedule event page yet. Not defined, but I believe everything else it should be okay with. But still might cause us to complete normally. That's right. I don't think I want. I'm supposed to return this. That's what it is. Let's return the schedule event page. There we go. Semicolon. Okay, error's all gone. Just to make our schedule event page. So let's do that. In our library, we're going to make a new Dart file. And I believe we're going to call it schedule event. We're going to violate good design practice by having two classes in here. Don't mind me. You shouldn't actually do this, but we're trying to code things quickly here. So we're going to have our schedule event page, which is going to be a stateful widget. So I'll just do st. It'll give me the stateful option. Boom. Schedule event page. But we're also going to have, we need to actually have events, so we'll just jam it in here. A scheduled event. Let's make our scheduled events because it's not too complicated. We need a string. It's going to be the name. We need a time for the event. Date time. We're going to need a constructor, scheduled event. It's going to take this dot name and this dot date time. And we're going to have a toString method. You can write override here, but it's optional. And then string to string. Is it not overridden? Oh, right, I just made this class. It doesn't extend anything, so this isn't an override. I'm used to, anytime you're extending widget has a way to represent it as text, but since scheduled event is not extending anything, I need toString, which is going to return, I guess we're going to go with the name, at, and then we'll do the date time. Yeah, seems fine. All right, really simple event. And now we have our stateful widget. So right now this builds a container, and also we need to make sure that it actually has a title. So we got this dot title, and we need to assign that to a variable title. Why are you mad? Can't define a constant constructor for a class with non-final fields. Well, I imagine we can make this final, right? Final string title. Yep. Once we have the title for the page, we're never going to change it, so it seems fine to leave it that way. Okay. Now, let's just see what happens, actually, if I run this. Kind of curious. We'll see. Oh, sorry. I need to import the scheduled event page over here. Grab that. All right, so I can make a scheduled event page when I click the button. At least that's what should happen. Let's see. Click. Hey, look at that. Well, it is blank because, namely, I don't have anything that gets built. All it is a container, which is, black box. Now, curious, what happens if I go back? Ah, very nice. So the back button from my phone controls actually takes me out of that page because, kind of like a call stack, the top level is the most recently loaded page, and if you want to go back, quote unquote, you actually can just use your phone controls to leave the page that you were on. So I can kind of bounce back and forth between the two of these right now. So we're off to a start. We obviously want to have a little bit more juice in here, but the very basics, we have the ability to switch from one place to another. Now, making a container, not too exciting, so maybe let's make ourselves a scaffold so we actually have like another proper page that loads. So let's get ourselves a scaffold. Scaffold's going to have ourselves a new app bar. This app bar is going to be just like the old one, except it's going to have a different title. The title is going to be text widget dot title. I promise you I have one. Don't forget the exclamation mark to promise that this title is not a null value. Also, if it means if you for some reason forget to put in the title, your app will fail, so don't do that. Okay, so there's my app bar. What else do I want? Let's make a body. I'm gonna put some stuff on this page. I think our goal here is we probably want to be able to get a name, and then like basically create our event on this page. And then once we've created our event, we want to pass it back to our main app. I think that's kind of the idea that we want to go for here. So there's lots of code that we're going to have to write. I'm going to keep it simple at first, at least as much as I can, based on my reference notes, and then I'll add in the flavor, I guess, a little bit later. Now let's see here. We need to have some options of things to click on or to fill in. So maybe let's start with just filling in the name of the event, and we'll also need the time. Let's actually grab the time right away. So date time right now is date time, the class dot now. So now we have what the current time is. So when we need to build our event, we can just say right now. We can obviously change this later when we want to actually set different times for stuff. But let's make our column have some children, and one of them will be a text field. Do I need a key for this? I don't think necessarily I do, because I don't plan on. I don't really need them to fill out multiple fields, right? I only really need them to fill in one thing. So I think I can actually get away without using a key. You could, if you wanted to have like a lot of things I need to fill in, kind of do what we did in the last exercise where we had a whole form to fill out. But here I think can get away with a single text field, and my text field is going to have when you change it, it's going to have a value, and that value is going to get assigned to a variable. So let's assign a variable. Probably need an actual variable to store that value. So let's go with string event name equals quotes. We're going to just change event name to be the value. Now, right now I don't really have any way to represent that value. Maybe let's just make it a text object in our column, just so we can see it when it actually gets changed. And then we can obviously take out that text item later. So text, and the contents of text is going to be the event name. I don't worry about the style. You can always maybe squint. I don't know. We'll see how hard it is to see. Okay, let's just try this out and see what happens. Okay, so nothing on the main page, but when I click, go to a place to schedule an event. So I have nothing, and then I have the place that you can fill in the text. So here is my event name. I can hit yes. And of course we know why this doesn't show up anywhere else, and it's because you need to wrap this in set state. So surround with set state. Try that again. Load the page. This is my, and look at that, you can actually see it change every time I modify the contents of the text field to modify this value over here. This is my event name, and actually every time I'm putting in a character here, we're doing set state repeatedly to refresh all the widgets, including the text widget that has the name of the event. Alright, cool stuff. So we got that little text field here, that's great. Now let's, underneath the text field, we are going to put in a row of buttons. So let's do a row. And inside our row, we're going to have some children. And my children are going to be, do I actually need a row of this? I guess so. So basically I think what we're going to do is we're going to like format this nicely so that it has buttons and then displays so we can see things. I suppose I don't need the row just yet, so maybe I'll add it in later when we want to make things look nice and pretty. Yeah, let's do that. So for now, we're going to keep it very basic, and then later down the line, we're going to add in some creativity. But for now, I do need I think it's elevated button is the proper way to do it. Raised button, I believe, is a deprecated form of the same thing. Okay. I need something to happen when I press it, and a child. So this button is going to be to make a choice. So text, choose. Yeah, sounds good. And what happens when we press this button? What I think we're going to do is we're going to pick a date. And that date is going to be loaded into a date time variable. So I guess I need one of those. Date time, the event time, which is, I guess we'll default it to date time right now, but we can always change that when necessary. Not data time, date time. There we go. Okay, and over here, when we press our button, we're actually going to, fortunately, you don't have to do all of the annoying work to put together a whole thing for someone to pick a date. There's actually a very easy way to do this, which is, I think built in show date picker. And look at that, it has like a whole bunch of required parameters we're going to need to fill in. So let's do all that. Okay, so we got our context. We have the first date you can pick from. We have, so like the earliest date you can pick from is first date. The last date you can pick from is like the last date. And then the initial date, as in what should the default value be, we'll go with our right now. And then the first date is, I guess, also right now. We don't want to schedule events for the past. Doesn't make too much sense. And our last date, let's set as a date time. I don't think anybody will be using this in the year 2100, so that should be safe. Is this just a stray parentheses? Oh no, sorry. This should have a semicolon. Okay, let's run this. See what happens. Just out of curiosity. Okay. Press a button. All right, so we got event name. And I can choose a date when I click. So today is the 3rd, at least at the time I'm recording this video. So I can pick a date that I like, 25th for fun, and say okay. And then hooray, it's been whatever value's been set to that. Now, here's the thing, is I'm not quite sure that I trust that this did what I wanted it to do. So what I'm actually going to do is I want to... I'm going to get some more text, and the text is going to have the event time. I think date time has a toString method. I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out. But let's add another thing to our column, which is going to be text that has the date time, which is going to be, the event time. Pardon my pop-ups. Event time. No toString representation? Alas. Okay. Can I do .toString? Is that okay? ToString? All right. That's something. Let's find out what happens. Okay. So toString gives us, I guess this is the current year. Kind of hard to see, even for me, squinting at my computer. So how about we enlarge some stuff? I'm going to go with style is text style, where the font size is 30. Just a nice quick little addition that I think we can add to some of our text fields to make this a little easier to see what we're doing. So let's modify event name, and we'll modify our text field, I think, as a style. I hope. Yeah, it looks like it. Just to make things a little bigger. Hard to see, you know. There we go. Okay, this I forgot to modify, I guess. Yeah, here we go. Okay, there we go. So I can see it's currently at 1:09. That sounds about right. There's our date time. Now, if I choose a new date time, 21st, does not change, unsurprisingly, because once again, I should have to surround this with set state. So, oh, also when I pick the date, this I don't think this actually like returns anything, right? It returns a future. So this is going to be again a case where, because when you click on the button to choose a date, you don't immediately get a date. You have to wait for the user to actually pick something. This is a case where we're actually going to use the then method. And our goal here is to take the value we get from them using this date picker and use that to, in this case, modify our event time. And I think we need actually to have a proper function for this. So there's a few things we need to do. And the first is we want to change our event time, which I guess is event date as well, to be a new date time. That includes semicolon, just spacing some things out. We need the year, month, and I think I have to promise all these things. Yeah, so promise. I guess I don't need to promise it twice, is that right? Yeah, okay. Value dot day. I think hour, second, and minute are optional. I don't really need to set them. Maybe what I'll do is I'll make another button that can specify time after. But for now, let's just stick with the basics. Then we'll make things a little more fancy later. So year, month, and day. Yeah, to not make the same mistake 100 times, let's surround all this in a set state. So this thing here, I'm going to do set state. And let's try this out. Okay, click. So if I pick, so it says 111, let's say I pick 13th. Okay. Hey, look at that. Now it defaults to to midnight, which I guess is not ideal. So we're probably going to want to build a something to pick our time. Now, let's actually start making some aesthetic changes as well. So right now I have just like everything is vertically aligned, which is not kind of ideal. I think what I would like is actually to have some of these next to each other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my elevated button and I'm going to put that in a row. So you can actually context actions wrap it with a row. And then I'm going to take the text and put it in the row as well. Oops. Hold up. I missed a... There we go. Take that. Put it in my row. Okay, it's a little cut off because my font size is too big, so I am going to pull this font size down a little bit. Let's go to 20. See if I can fit everything on the screen that way. Okay, there we go. It's smaller, but I can still kind of read it, so that's what matters. Now, the reason I want to do that is just because I think I'm going to run out of space really fast. I actually have a lot of stuff I want to put in here. Now, I have my row here that has my button and the date next to it. I think actually what I might want to do is take the... actually no, this is fine. I think this is fine. I do want to have things a little nicer positioned, but you know what? Again, I'll come back and do that later. Right now, what I do want to do is set up a time picker, because right now the time picker is kind of important, because otherwise I can't actually change this to anything other than midnight. You know, if I pick here, we're back to midnight again, which is kind of awkward. So let's see if I can actually pick a time. And I think where I want to put it is I want to put it probably in the column. Pondering. So this should be date instead of choose, just to make things a little like more better verbosity, I suppose. And I think under here, so it's going to be in the column. Okay, where's my column? So this is my column. Here are the children of the column. In here, I'm going to have another elevated button. And this is going to be where I can pick the time. So space some things down. The child of this one is just going to be another text object that says the time. So I can pick the time here. When I press the button, so there's no parameters, I'm just going to run a function, and the function here is going to show me a time picker. And I think once again this is probably going to return a future, so this is another function where I need to call it, then use the then method, and then use the result from this to assign it to my my event time. Now, let's see. So right here, I think what I might need to do actually, because when you set a date time, if you don't specify the hours, minutes, or seconds, it just defaults everything to 0. And I think the reverse kind of thing might happen where if I don't set the year, month, and day, it's probably going to default to like Linux time or something. I guess we can explore and see what happens. So, out of curiosity, let's find out. I do need to take this and then do a then, and we'll fill in all these things one bit at a time. So context, that's simple. Initial time, I suppose, is going to be, so we're going to need time of day, a class that specifies time of day, and the hour is going to be right now dot hour, and the minute's going to be right now dot minute. Because again, we don't care about the past, so. And I think that's everything I need to build my time picker. So after this, I have a little button that will let me pick the time, and then with the time that I have picked, I want to run a piece of code. The piece of code I want to run is going to set the event time to be a new date time. And now here is where I think. So you can see here that year is mandatory, but everything else is kind of optional. So I'm going to use the previous event time dot year, previous event time dot minute, previous event time dot second, dot day. It's year, month, day. Space all this out. So it's year, month, day, hour, minute, second, I believe is the order. And now that we have a new time, an hour and a minute, we can set those using the value we got from our time picker. So hour value dot minute. I promise you there is a value that has been selected. Now over here, I don't want to reset the time if I've already picked a time and want to just change the date. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go with the previous event hour, the previous event minute. And second doesn't really matter, I don't think. So let's see how this has changed things. Come on. Okay, so I can pick the time now. So the time here is current time, so 1:17. I can do time. Let's make it, something somewhat different. 10:01, sure. Okay, 10:23. Why not? And that didn't work for, classic reason, which is all this needs to be in a set state. Space this out, tab this over. Yes, this needs to be in a set state. Try it again. Okay, so 1:18, pick a different time, 8:45, boom, 8:45:000. And if I change the date, say to the 21st, my 8:45 still is there. And if I change the time, my October 21st should stick around as well. There we go. So everything is now actually staying in place. Very nice and cool and good. Okay. Now, I think the last thing that must be here before we start actually working on kind of polishing this to make it look a little prettier, other than my ugly appearance here, is we want to actually return this. Because we're building an event here, but once we have our name of our event and our time, you don't actually have anything to do with it. I mean, I can hit the back button, but all the back button is going to do is just pitch me back to the other page. And so that's really not ideal. What I would like to do is have a button that I'm going to, I guess, add to the column, which is going to return, or I guess save more accurately. So here's my button. Now here is going to be another button. And this is going to be the one that saves things. So text will say save. And when we press it, okay, so now here's where things get a little actually different, which is we have to figure out, okay, we have our event now, how do we actually send it back? Now, if you look back at what we did over here, we pushed a new page onto our stack, and we actually want to assign that to a variable here. And the variable we want to assign it to is going to be actually our event, so we need to build that event and then pass it back. And fortunately, you can probably imagine that if push is the way that you can push stuff onto the stack, pop is the way you get it off. So to escape, you essentially just need to use navigator .of, and in here you need the context, and you're going to pop, yes. And when we pop, we're going to pass it a new scheduled event, and the scheduled event is going to have the name that we just made, and the date time is going to be the event time that we just created. There we go. Okay. Now, all well and good, we get the event back. We need to probably display it. Fortunately, we have a way to display it, which is we can show it. So we're going to print new event created, and just print the event. We're actually going to, we can specify this is going to be a scheduled event, because it is. Now I think this is where things might get a little spicy. Haha, yes. So, actually we'll try doing it with a variable, and we'll actually see what happens. I think that this will cause some sad stuff to happen, but we'll keep an eye on our console and see what actually occurs. So, let's go. Let's open our new page. And now you can already see something has gone wrong, which is that new event was created, but we haven't made it yet. That's kind of problematic. Instance of future. And so this is, again, the issue where asynchronicity comes into play, in that because creating this whole event is something that we don't actually know how long it will take to do, but we want to be able to print the message in here. We need to actually tell Flutter that once we want to make our event, you need to wait for us to do so before you actually go and try to print something out, because otherwise you're not going to know what it's going to look like. So here is where we need to actually modify this, and this is going to be a future class that is going to run asynchronously. Oops. Async. Expecting to find a semicolon. I think I need to specify that it is a future void. No, I'm missing something here. Where did I put it? Oh, it's probably, is it the parentheses? Yeah, the parentheses are supposed to come after the name of the function. There we go. Okay, and we also have to add a keyword in here, which is await. So this will mean that our little function here to print out the new event that's been created will wait for us to make the event before printing out this message. So let's try it out. Press. So now you notice that it didn't print anything out because we have to make the event. So this is our new event. We're going to set the date to be tomorrow. We're going to set the time to be 12:15 just for fun. And let's hit save. And look at that. We have created a new event named our new event at the 4th of October, which is tomorrow, at 12:15. All nice and good. Now, I think I'm going to take a little break here, but when I come back, I'm going to take a look at dialogues and how we can make some interesting things happen now that we actually have the ability to jump from one page to another. We'll focus a little bit on actually showing some stuff off. So I'll see you in a little bit. Welcome back. Let me bring my microphone a little closer. There we go. and I have a little guest here who is probably just going to hang out, hopefully, and not bark too much. That's the goal. We are going to continue on by, first off, polishing off, I think, a little bit of this currently very aesthetically ugly page. So rather than leaving that as is, how about we make things look a little bit nicer, and that way we're not stuck with the thing we had there. So I think the first place that we're going to go and adjust everything is probably starting off at the very top. And let's see if maybe we can start by aligning some of these things. Right now we have just kind of like everything is a little everywhere. So let's begin by first off aligning all the stuff in our column. So main axis alignment, dot, let's try center, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, it's a little bit nicer, because before we had just like everything pushed to the top of the page. Having everything in the middle is a little bit nicer just for appearance purposes. This isn't perfectly centered. I suppose we know this works. We don't really need this other text widget, so we can actually just delete that. Maybe that'll make things a little nicer looking as well. Just push that back, and there we go. Now everything is like actually centered as we like. Okay, so that's all cool and good. Let's see what else we can change from the aesthetic side of things. So right now we just have a button, and then immediately next to it is some text, and everything here is in a row that has like everything pushed to the left. I think everything pushed to the left is probably fine, but having this in the form that it does, not really great. So first off, like it has a bunch of digits here that I assume must be like microseconds, perhaps 0.016 and stuff. So how about we make it so that this form is a little bit cleaner, and we can maybe put some spacing in here as well. So in our row where we have this text, let us take this row, and for this row I think we're going to have this text here. Yes, that's all this. Let's wrap this in a hold up, what's the child? Sorry. This text here, that's the thing. Let's wrap that in a container, and then we can make that a little box that we can space as we need to. So wrap that in a container, and let's give it a bit of padding just to kind of see what this does. Engine set, symmetric, horizontal. Let's start with 5, and then we can adjust it up and down and see how we line up position everything. So okay, now it's a little nicer. It's like centered, and how about we push it a little bit? Say 20. How's that gonna do? There we go. Getting it nice and actually centered on the screen is a little bit cleaner here. Okay, now let's also modify this text. Right now we just have the time.toString. This is ugly. We can do a little bit better. So rather than taking the event time to string, how about we make a function that takes the string and actually gives me what I'm looking for, which is the date. I don't actually care about the time here, right? I only really care about the time when we're setting the time. So how about actually what we do is we not only make the modifications here, but we're also going to make the same modifications to put this this time button in its own row with just the time. So here we only care about date. So let's write a function that gives us just the date. So it's going to give us a string. We can call this toDateString, and given a date time, which is the date, we're going to return a string. The string is going to be, we need to get the year, then we want hyphen, then we want the month, so date.month, then we want another hyphen, and then we want date.day, and we'll call it toDateString with our event time. And let's see what this looks like. There we go. So we only really actually care about these numbers, right? The rest of it's kind of irrelevant. So let's leave this as it is. I guess we can make things really clean, and in particular, so we notice that the date 3 doesn't have 2 digits, it's only just a 3. What if I want this to be 03? Just for the sake of really polishing things off, let's write a little function that converts a 1-digit number to a 2-digit number. So 2 digits, given a value, which is an integer. If the integer is greater than 9, then we don't need to do anything. Well, I guess we want to get the string version of it though, right? So let's return a string containing a value, and otherwise we want to return 0 and then the value. So for instance, if our number is 3, we want the string to be 03. So this will give us our 03, and then over here we can actually call 2 digits, and our value can be this. And we can do the same thing with our day. Just so that we're making things, we're actually going to put in some work to make things look a little nicer, right? There we go, that looks a little better. I suppose we could center that row. Let's see. So I guess that's part of our column, yeah. So we could do cross-axis alignment, cross-axis alignment dot center as well. We'll see how that looks. Oh wait, that didn't do anything. Oh, because this box I think stretches to the end of the field, so the cross-axis alignment doesn't actually help us here. Do I want to push the date button over? So I think this is part of the row though, right? We can do main axis alignment here. Let's try center, see what this gives us. Okay, that's a little better, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. I guess maybe it's not ideal to have things like this. You might be okay with having things at the start. I'll leave it for now, though. It seems fine. Okay, now that we've got that, let's get the thing going for time. And fortunately, we can just copy-paste at this point. So this container, which is the date in proper format over here, we want the exact same thing to show up over. So that's the container and everything inside of it to show up right after this button in a row. So we want this button to be in a row, this one. Let's wrap this in a row. And right after the button, we want the container. And this time we want it to be a time string instead of a date string, which means we need to write the function for that. And it's going to be just like this, except it's called time string. And this time we are looking for the hour colon the minute. And I think we need both of these to be 2 digits actually. So let's make sure that we have that. We'll delete the first term. And we can just start up with 2 digits, date.hour, colon, 2 digits, date.minute. We don't care about seconds, it's fine. If you really need to schedule something to the second, something weird must be going on. And go. Okay, and we want to align this properly because, again, we want everything to be nice and lined up. So this row should have the exact same alignment as this. We could be really proper, which would actually be to set a variable for the main axis alignment dot center, and that way when you change this alignment, it should change this alignment as well, because these things should be lined up equally. But, it's not a big deal. We'll just do that. Now it's possible these still aren't aligned. Yeah, so this looks kind of ugly, right? They're not like quite lined up. So this might actually be a case where we do want to put everything at the start. Just because since the length of time is not as long as the length of the date, it's probably better to have the buttons aligned with each other, in which case we'll probably just have to push everything to the left side. So unfortunately this is how we started. I think the font size of these was changed, if I'm not mistaken. Where is the... Yeah, so we set the font size for the date to be 20. We should do the same thing for our time. And I guess let's do the same thing for save, huh? Be somewhat consistent here. Again, you may find it useful to just take the text style that you want to have for all of your information and just make it a variable that everything accesses. This is a lot better than using just constants everywhere. You can see all the like lines that are showing up because I didn't use constants. Maybe if I'm doing this in class, I might actually consider doing that, is using a variable for the text style, for instance, because I'm copying it everywhere and just referencing that one thing. Now, is there anything else that I want to adjust on this page? I don't think so. I think I'm happy with how it looks now. So everything here is good. We got an event. We can save it. Then it comes back here. It creates an event with some info. Now, let's actually do something with this event, huh? Right now, we're not really doing anything with it. So we're done with our schedule event code. Let's go back to main. Right now, we can get an event, and it creates an event and prints out, hooray, we did the thing. Maybe let's see. I guess we don't really need to do that much with it, but I do want to show some dialogues. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put a few buttons on the main screen, and we can press these buttons and they'll all do all kinds of little dialogues. So let us begin. In our body here, we have center. Yes, are you eager to get down? Are you like, I'm done with sitting on the lap? Yes, you can go. It's fine. There you go, buddy. Don't mind him. He's a very fickle creature. Okay, center. Let us make a column of things. Again, we'll child is a column of things. We'll handle the aesthetics in a little bit. For now, let's just get things showing up. So we got a column. Column's going to have some children. If he keeps scratching at that door, I'll probably have to go get him. Okay, we got children, which are going to be some containers containing some buttons. So containers, each container is going to have a child that is a elevated button. Okay, he is obviously already very sad, so I suppose I should go grab him. One moment, please. Sorry about that, just had to take care of the pup. Let us make our elevated button. Our elevated button needs the usual parameters, so we're going to need... Whoa, that was not the way I wanted to orient it. There we go. We need a child, and we need onPressed. onPressed. Probably is unhappy until I actually write the unchild code. Let's do that first then. Yep. It's just gonna be some text that says alert, and we'll click this when we want to generate an alert dialog. onPressed. Let's see, what shall we do when we press this button? I guess we'll just call a function, and and in this case, we're going to show alert. And importantly, we need the context here, mostly so that we can get back to where we're working. So you'll note that I didn't put show alert as just the function that's here. Suppose I can, and we'll see, I guess, what happens when it goes wrong. So let's say I do show alert. This is not defined right now, so it's unhappy. But I think when I do show alert, it will be fine. So show alert here is going to be a function. Let's see. I want it to be... I guess it's going to have to belong to my class because I need to access it. So this is going to be called show alert. And here we're going to show a dialog. All right. Now, I guess this is where you actually do need to have the context. So if I don't have the context, it's not going to be able to actually build the dialog in the right spot, which is kind of problematic. So we are going to modify our button here. And so instead of onPressed, why is this angry? Oh, I didn't mean to have this here still. Instead of just being able to do show alert, I actually have to do show alert and pass the context as a parameter. Because if I don't, then this is missing, which is unfortunate. And show alert here is going to need context, which is a build context object. And I can pass that over. And then builder is where I'm going to actually build my alert dialog that I want to show off. So this is going to be a function, and it's going to take the context, and it's going to build a alert dialog. All right, semicolon. And let's put in a little title that says, Danger, Will Robinson. We'll have some content. Spooky things are coming. As you can see, I have a very creative mind when it comes to the content for these non-important things. Actions. We're going to have a flat button. Oh, this is deprecated. What's the new version? Text button. Sure, text button. Just space and everything out. The child here is going to be some text. I understand. And when it is pressed, in this case, we just want to close the, well, actually, let's leave it. Let's leave it for now, and we'll see what happens if I try to press the button. Okay, go. All right, there's a button. It is really small, so let's make it bigger. There's a button. Style. There's a text style with font size 20. I'll make it 30, why not? Boom, alert. So, here's our alert dialog. This is a little dialog box. Spooky things are coming. I can press I understand, but nothing will happen. I can click off of it, which is kind of your use, like the way that if you're lazy, you close these dialog boxes. But let's be honest, if you're designing your app properly, when I click I understand, it should actually close the dialog box. Now, how do I close the dialog box? So remember that anytime that we want to go to a new page, we need to go to our navigator and push a new page onto it. If we want to go back from a page, you saw with over in our schedule event, we needed to, where are we? Pop. Oop, pop. So we're actually going to do the exact same thing. We're just going to pop from our event dialog. But notably, because we don't actually need to send any information back, we can just go, where were we? Over here. We can just do navigator dot context navigator dot of context dot pop. Boop. So, alert. Spooky things are coming. I understand. And look at that. We're done. Okay. Really simple. Now, so you'll note that when I clicked off of it, it just let me close it, which is perhaps not what you actually want them to do. Maybe you want to force them to press the button. So here is where you can set that, which is part of the dialog here. So I believe it's called barrier dismissible, and you can set this to false, and this should do what I mentioned. So alert, and there we go. So now no matter how much I click, I can't close this dialog just by randomly clicking off of it. Does the back button work? Yeah, I can use the back button, so it's still a thing that people can use to get out of it, but at the very least, they can't just click off the screen. This might be useful if, for instance, you have an app where they're tapping on a lot of things very often, and you don't want them to accidentally close it when they're not supposed to. Hitting the back button on your phone is usually much more intentional. Similarly, clicking the I understand button is probably what you want them to be doing, if possible. Okay, let us... Let me see here. Let's build another little button. Actually, let's make this button look a little nicer as well. I think we can maybe we'll space it out a bit. Let's position our buttons nicely on the screen so that they aren't hideously ugly. So we're gonna have a few buttons, which I guess we'll align later. But in our container here, we can get some padding going. Insets.symmetric. Let's do horizontal 5, vertical 5, and then we can adjust from there. Okay, let's horizontal more. I guess horizontal doesn't really matter too much. But maybe let's push it a little further down from the top of the screen. It's a bit heavy. There we go. And then I think I'm happy with the appearance of this one button, so let's get a couple more. And so here's my elevated button, which I guess is part of the container. So I'm going to copy the container a few times. How many buttons do I want? Let's make 3 more, and then we'll do each of them separately. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3 more buttons. Why are you angry? Too many positional arguments. Oh, did I put this in the wrong spot? Possibly. One sec. Container is there. So you can do container, 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 container. Everybody's happy now? Okay. So my code is just the child of the column should give me 4 containers with 4 different buttons. Names of these are going to be alert, choice, about, and a custom. And we're going to make all kinds of different dialog boxes. Boom, look at that. I would like these centered because that looks just nicer, so let's do that. Much cleaner. I feel like it's a little low, but maybe I'm just visualizing it the wrong way. Okay, so right now they all do the same thing, which is like kind of boring. So let's start by changing choice, and then we'll change about, then we'll change our custom one, and so on. So let's start with the choice. And we're going to write another function just like this one down here that shows alert. This one's going to be called show choice. Also going to take a build context. Now, this one, I think we're actually going to make it asynchronous, mostly because we perhaps are going to want to use the result of this dialog box for some kind of point. So let's make this asynchronous. I suppose I can make it not. Yeah, if you make it, I guess we can see what happens if I don't. No, because then what it'll do is it'll return a future when I want to actually print something out. So what I think I want to actually do is when I press the button here for show choice, where are we? Show choice. I want to actually do if show choice then let's print let's say meet okay, and otherwise print no meet. In my dialog, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them the option to pick between 2 different choices, and then depending on which one they pick, we'll close the dialog box and return either true or false. So we're going to have, let's make this a variable. I don't think we have to, but we'll do it anyway just for fun. Vegan required equals await, and to use the await keyword is like why I have to make this an asynchronous function. Show dialog, and then once I've done all that, we're going to actually print it out just so we can see. So the choice dialog result is what they got for vegan required. So again, because this is awaiting, we aren't going to print this until we've actually gotten an answer. But what we're going to do is make a builder kind of like this one, which is going to take our context, and it's going to return a simple dialog. So simple dialog here is basically a box that's going to have some options they can pick from, and then based on what they pick, we're going to have some things happen. Now, so note in terms of the order of which things happen here, I'm going to show the dialog that's going to pop up and give them a choice to pick from. But I still want my app to kind of keep going while it's happening. That's kind of why I need this asynchronicity. But the simple dialog is going to stay up until they pick something, and then once they pick something, I want that choice to actually then affect my code. I also don't want to print what their choice result is until they have chosen, which is why I'm choosing to wait for the answer. Now, in my simple dialog, I need a title, and the title is going to be vegan, question mark. The children here are going to be the options they can pick from, which are called simple dialog options. We're going to have two options, either yes or no. I guess let's make yes first, and then we'll just switch things for no after. So the child of this is what display option is, which in this case is yes vegan. And if you press that button, then we're going to return true. So when we press it, we're going to escape our dialog, navigator.of, context, .pop, true. And if you press the other option, oh sorry, this title should be a text widget. There we go. If you press the other button, it'll be no. So simple dialog option number 2 is not vegan. And we'll pop false. So let's try it out. So choice, vegan, yes vegan, not vegan. Is this an error? It looks like an error. Future dynamic is not a subtype of bool inside of... oh, okay. I think this might be a case of the typing for here, possibly. I mean, my thing seems to be running okay, so it's possible that this error is not a problem. Oh, I see what it is. Okay, future dynamic is not a subtype of bool because and I guess let's demo. Let's see what happens. So when I click yes vegan, for instance, it tells me my choice dialog option is true because that's what I picked. And if I pick false, it'll say false. But I keep getting these errors, and the reason is when I do this, this is looking for an answer right away. But I don't have an answer right away. I have to wait for them to actually pick the thing there. So let's see if we can figure out exactly how we want to do this. So I think what we may need to do here is use our then keyword. So we're going to need a variable, or bool vegan. And what we're going to do is we're going to call this then. No, is then not okay? Probably because it's waiting for maybe if I specify this as a future, let's see if that helps. Future. Then there we go. Then the result is going to lead us to vegan equals value. Okay, semicolon. If vegan. Why are you mad? Must be assigned. So let's default to false. Let's see how this does. Okay, so defaults to no meat, and then if I click this, explodes, I think. Null is not a subtype of type bool. Well, that's not great. I feel like I have driven myself into a corner here that I should not have driven myself into. So I think part of this is a design flaw in that I have built this button that's looking to print something right away. And I think I actually just don't want to have that happen. I think in this case, my issue is... Now, I suppose I could wrap this again in a set state. But the thing is, I only want to print one time. So maybe this is actually just not the place I want to print stuff. But I can at least set my vegan option. And maybe what I'll do is, let's make this text to be our vegan descriptor here. So first off, this variable should not be here. Let's put vegan up here in my state. Bool vegan is false. And then over here, the text for this button can be vegan question mark. If so, then vegan. Otherwise, not vegan. And we will wrap, let's see, do I want to wrap this in a, I think I want to wrap this in a set state. I think it's this part I want to wrap in set state. So let's do that. No, not happy with me doing that. I think I should be able to. Well, let's see what happens if I do it myself. Set state. No, is this not an okay place to put it? It should let me though. If I do this. There we go, set state. So by default I'm not vegan. I say yes. It didn't work. Okay, what is my problem now? Unknown exception type null is not a subtype. Oh, so I think my problem here is that I'm trying to set the result too soon. Let me see here. Where is it suggesting there's a problem? Here. Kind of unsurprising. Just part of set state, of course. So does that error appear when I pick an option? Let's see. So if I do this, let's say not vegan. Or here, let's restart it just to see. Trying to figure this out. This is beyond what I'm actually supposed to be just showing you, but I'm kind of curious. Okay, so not vegan. When I hit yes, it didn't change this, which is not ideal. Now, show choice goes over to here, and it's supposed to return. Oh, I forgot to return the thing, right? I think that might be the issue, is what happens if I do that. Return, return, I guess I need a variable then for this, right? I need, vegan required. Let's see if that does what I'm looking for. Oh, spicy. There we go. So just missing a return. All right, and now I can go vegan, not vegan, vegan, not vegan. Very nice. Okay. A little bit of tweaking of things here, but I think I'll probably show this off in class now that I got it working here. This video is starting to take quite a while, but I feel like it's still worth just exploring a few of these things. Okay, I think the rest of this should be a little bit shorter. We're going to move on to our About button. We're going to make an, where is it? Show. So we have show, where is it? We have show alert. We have show choice. Now let's do show about. I'm going to make another function for that. Getting really heavy on the abouts. I don't think this one requires any kind of future stuff because this is just going to display some info. So show about. Need some context. And we're just going to show an about dialog. And here things are really simple. The only thing you have to have is the context. Otherwise, you can do like, all right, what's the name of the application? This is Dialogs and the navigation. The version is 1.2.3. Can have some children. Let's make some text objects. And dialogs and navigation are here. You know, like copyright 2022 me. About, look at that, dialogues, navigation, version, little message, copyright me. So you can click on the web licenses, which should take you to an automated list of all of the licenses that are part of your app. I think that will work. Yeah, it'll be like, all right, here's all of the things that are needed as part of this to function, which fortunately you don't have to do anything because it's already there. But if you go back, and note that this opens a new page, so you can go back and forth. Can also just close this. It's a much simpler dialog box, huh? Okay, let's wrap up with the last one, which is a custom dialog box. Show a custom. I'm going to make one last function here, which is going to show custom. We need the context again. I'm leaving out variable types and such, but you really should not. It's not a good idea, but I'm trying to wrap this up quickly. Show dialog, context, builder, and let's have our builder take the context and return a custom dialog. So far I've been using all the built-in ones. So you've noticed like simple dialog was already built in, alert dialog was built in, about dialog was built in, show about dialog I should say. But what if we want to make our own? We can do that. So let us finish things off by making our own custom dialog. I want to make it over here. Make a Dart file called custom dialog. Always start out your code the same way. Material. Let's make a stateless widget instead of a stateful widget, because we're just making a dialog here, nothing too crazy. Custom dialog, a stateless widget. I don't even think we need the key. I think we can like get away without it. But we'll leave it for now. If I need to delete it, I can. And we're going to not return a container, but we're going to return our own custom dialog. Our custom dialog can have a shape. So let's say we want to make it a rounded rectangle border for fun. And that will have a radius, which is a specific kind of radius. You need to unfortunately use some types in here. You can't get away with just putting in the number 5. We need to say the border radius is a type of special border radius. We want it to be circular. The number 5. Let's see how this goes. Should make sure it compiles by importing this. There we go. So now I hit custom. All right, right now nothing is showing up, but that's probably because I need to actually put some stuff in there, which I will. So let's fill it up. Right now we have a border, but we have nothing inside of it. So let's see here. Let's make a child. I think let's start with some text just to see custom dialog. Just see if that shows up. There you go. Yeah, very tiny in here is custom dialog. You can see the circle at least, like the little tube here. But we probably can make something a little more interesting than just some text. So why don't we? In fact, why don't we make a whole function for it? We're going to build a grid view, which is going to be a function here called build grid view. And it's going to give us a grid view. Okay, interesting. This is not what I expected. The delegate that controls the children within the grid view. I think they have updated the code for a grid view since I was last here. So that should be interesting. We may have to explore this together. Why don't we? Well, I guess the first thing I should do is see if I have actually solved this problem myself by referencing my old code. Give me one moment to see if I have actually encountered this thing before. I feel like it sounds familiar, but I'm not totally sure. So let me see here. I think we need to use that constructor. So let's give that a shot. or is it grid delegate? So, yeah, grid delegate. Sliver grid delegate, sure. Just looking for parameters. This is abstract. Okay, so I have to use one of the specific versions. Sliver grid delegate with fixed cross-axis count. Sure, let us try it and see what happens. Oop. I'm expecting it needs parameters. Cross-axis count, okay. Let's put in a parameter for that. Cross-axis count 5. Okay, apparently this is allowed. I imagine I need to be able to build items in here because this is one of those classes that's expecting probably some kind of builder. No, is that not the case? Okay, well, let's see what this does. I'm kind of curious. Okay, nothing really, because I need to actually put some objects in here. Let's see. Grid view. Maybe I'm looking for a, you know what, actually, I don't think I want the grid view here. I think I want to use one of the methods of grid view. Here we go, actually. Let's do this. Let us do grid view.count, and we'll just make a certain number of items. So let's say I want to make 5 for fun. Now I'm looking for another, oops, sorry, this should be a semicolon. And this should be gone. And hold up here. My parentheses have gone all over the place. There we go. Okay. This should set space up for 5 items, but now I need to actually have them. I think this is where I can do children. There we go. And let's just make them a list of 5 text objects for now, and we'll, item. Is it looking for a specific type? Is that the reason this is angry? Oh, it's just looking for a single thing. Oh, okay. That's fine. Text. And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Just so we can see what this looks like. Okay, custom dialog box go. Okay, that's real tiny and hard to see. Maybe we'll make some colored boxes instead because this font is so small. I guess I can like enlarge it, but since I made 5 items, it's kind of annoying. What I think we're gonna do actually is let's make a function to give us a list of what we're looking for here. So the children here is actually not going to be a list. It's just going to be the result of our let's do build grid view items function, which is going to be down here, build grid view items. And this is going to make a list of items. And for an I equals 0, I less than 5, items I is, items dot add. And I guess we'll build a, we'll make a container. And our container is going to have a height of 50. It's going to have a color that's colors.blue, referencing 100 plus the index times 100. So we're going to get like a scaling blue little combo here. Why are you mad? Num can't be assigned to int. Oh, right, I have an index, but I meant I. There we go. And let's give it a label. So we're going to center the text entry I. Let's see what this looks like. Oh no, it is sad. Okay. Nil is not a... Probably should return the list, huh? That would help. Return the list. Nope, still angry. List of dynamics, not a type of list widget. Okay, so then this should be a type of list widget. There we go. Now we got some actual things showing up here. Still kind of hard to see. I guess because that's just how they're lined up. Maybe if I do it in a smaller size, like if I make it columns of 3 instead of 5, maybe that would be better. Like easier to see. Okay, a little bit. The text is still kind of small. Let's just make the text bigger. Style, text style, font size 30. There we go. Look at that. I suppose to wrap things up, let's just make it like a little more complete. So how many can we fit in here, you think? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 by 3. Just 21 items. Let's see if that is right. About. We lose some color here. Maybe let's make the ones after change their colors. So color is I think here we're gonna need to set the color first. So let's do color. Oh no, we need to do it in here. If I is less than, so if we can do the first 9, then we can do blue. Color equals blue. Why are you mad? Oh, I have to promise it something. So let's start with colors dot. Oh, wait. Now are you mad? Oh, okay. I have to promise that this will return something, I guess. There we go. Okay. Else if I is less than, what's gonna be the next one? 17. So less than 18. Then we can do red. Otherwise, let's do green. And here, we'll just set it to be whatever color we got. Oh no, what did I do wrong? Null check operator on a null value. My custom dialog, yes, okay. Build grid view items. Oh, right. I should subtract 9 and subtract 18 so that it actually gets into the right reference range, huh? Let's try that. There we go. Making ourselves a little list of things. These are all text. You could very easily make these buttons if you felt like it, but for now I think it's simple enough to say we're happy with this little custom dialog box. I would say this is like pretty awful design. Like clicking on it doesn't do anything. At least it is a grid view. I can like slide up and down. I guess I could put in a couple more items. Let's go to what do we think? I can do 27 maybe. I think I can do 27, right? There you go. Do 27 items. Look through them. But in order to close, I have to like click on the little tiny space on the side, which is not great. So, but everything seems to be working okay. So we got our dialog boxes. We got our back and forth between little things. Here is my event. I can save it. And it makes my event, which I can use for whatever things if I feel like it. But this is, I think, the end of the video. I've been recording for quite a while already. Hopefully this means that in class I'll be a little faster at putting everything together, but I am content at least with what we have here. Maybe, are there any things I want to change with regards to the appearance of stuff? I suppose I can tweak the grid view a little bit, because all I did was set up a count, but I could consider, for instance, changing some of the spacing. Like if I set the cross axis and main axis to be some different values, we can see just how that affects the little grid. There we can get some space in between things. Is there really anything else? Maybe we can do some padding. Push everything in a little closer if we really wanted to. Just some ways to play around a little bit with what we have here. Oh, let's wrap up with the dialog properties. So we just built the grid view, but we didn't do anything else. So elevation here, that's a good question. What is this going to do? So I think this is like shadow controls, like shadowing. So what happens if I do 0? I think this is the default, but we'll see. Okay, so that's 0. What if I make this a bigger number, like 5? I mean, we may not see anything happen. It could affect the dimness of the thing behind it. What if I make this a really big number? It doesn't seem to really change anything that I can notice, but I imagine it might be the case of if I have like multiples of these. Sorry, what is if null, then the elevation of the dialog is used. Otherwise, it's 24. The coordinate to replace this relative to its parent. It controls the size of the shadow below and the opacity of the elevation overlay if it is applied. Well, okay, so I think we might not be able to see this unless we actually have it to be transparent. So let's try that. Background color, colors.transparent. And now let's set it to 0, first of all. Okay, so now the white box Reddit has gone and we just see the grid and nothing else. Now what if I set this to be 24? So I can't really see it too well. How about I make the gaps between everything a little bigger? And maybe then it'll be more visible. So let's say 10 and 5. Maybe even 10 and 10. So you can kind of see, I think, a little faint shadow there. I mean, my eyes may be playing tricks on me, but... Or actually, no, it looks like I can see it actually there. Yeah, so this is like really the most nitpicky aesthetics, but might be something that matters, I think, if you really care a lot about how your thing looks. So it's some kind of thing that may end up actually being relevant. So good for you to know, even if you decide you don't want to really use it. I believe that's everything for today, though. I think I'm going to wrap this up. We'll see what this looks like when we show it in class, but I imagine it shouldn't be too different. I'm probably going to be using the same code as a reference. So that's it for this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.